Please join me with a warm LABI welcome for our new governor.
Thank you. I am happy to be here, and I want to thank the LABI board and everybody for being here today. You know, Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Well, we're going to come together, we're going to keep together, and if you will work with me in good faith to find common ground and common sense solutions to our problems, then we're going to work together and we're going to be successful. Just like your theme today, seizing the opportunity to move Louisiana forward, I would tell you we can best do that by putting Louisiana first. That's what I will do throughout this term as your governor. And I would ask that to the maximum extent possible, we shed whatever party labels might prevent us from working together, that we really work in good faith so that we can explore and find the common ground and serve the common interest. I'm committed to doing that, and I believe that you are too. That's why I'm here with you today. That's why I'm happy to get started. I've been in office for 72 hours, and let me tell you, it's been busy, and it's been good, but we have real challenges. And speaking of working together, I said all throughout the campaign, I will work with anyone, anytime, upon those things that we disagree so we can find ways to help one another to put our state first. Nothing throughout my 4 years as your governor will illustrate that more or better than what I've done this morning. An hour ago, I was with the president. And I want to tell you what I told him privately, because I'm not one of those people that has a private conversation and then goes out and disavows it or acts differently. I told him last night when I had an opportunity to visit with him that I appreciated the fact that he picked Louisiana for his visit. And I wanted to welcome him here, and I asked him to work with me to help us fix some of the problems that we have in Louisiana. We spent a few minutes together, and it happened to be pretty fortuitous, but we traveled over the section of I-10 in Baton Rouge that squeezes down to one lane. And I was able to point out to the president, you know, you just passed a new transportation bill, and it's called the FAST Act, and what you're trying to do is make sure that commerce and freight moves better across our national highways. I said, this is the only place in the United States of America where there's one travel lane on a major interstate. He didn't know that before. Had I not taken advantage of the opportunity, he wouldn't know it today, and his staff wouldn't have already gotten back with me this morning to tell me that they are seriously and favorably considering a request that we made for $100 million under that act in order to make an improvement there that will allow us to then take money that's allocated to that project and make projects across the entire I-10 corridor. So yes, I'm thankful that the president came. I also want you to know that I asked him specifically about the Medicaid expansion, to have the administration work with us to the maximum degree possible so that we can pursue expansion in a timely and efficient manner, one where we can benefit the people and the medical providers of Louisiana by taking our tax dollars from Washington and putting them to work for our working poor and for our providers. He assured me that he would, and in fact, I have already spent an hour meeting with Secretary Burwell of HHS in Washington, and she said the same thing. But I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like having the president tell you he's going to call Secretary Burwell and tell her to make sure that she is working with us in that. And in fact, what you're going to see coming from the president very soon is a proposal to Congress that when states move forward with Medicaid expansion, that from that moment, they get 3 years at 100% match rate, as opposed to having that 100% match rate expire 3 years from when the act became effective. That would benefit the state of Louisiana. And if you all were in those budget briefings this morning with those former commissioners of administration, then you know what a serious challenge we have on our hands. And I would ask for your support to the extent that you can give support on that issue, and I'm asking for our congressional delegation to support the President's initiative in that regard, because it will be helpful to our state as we move forward and try to tackle our challenges. So I'm here an hour after I met with the President. I'm going to work with LABI, I'm going to work with the President, I'm going to work with everybody in between to find the common ground to move the state of Louisiana forward, to tackle our challenges. That's what I said I would do when I was running for governor. It only took me 3 days to get off to a good start. So with your help, we will continue to do that. And I am aware, notwithstanding that sterling voting record I have with your organization, that our missions are similar. We all want a strong business climate that develops communities and enhances the economic vitality in our state so that our citizens, our families, our neighbors, our working people, our families can see brighter days ahead. And you know, I think we would all agree that we have some serious problems, we have some serious challenges. But by partnering with the legislature, business and industry leaders such as yourselves, local governments, educators, and working people across the state, I am 100% confident, I am optimistic that there is not a challenge that we won't meet. As we move our state onward, we must maintain transparency about where we are, how we got here, and where we go from here. Put simply, we have to be honest with ourselves and with one another. So where are we? And if you went over this morning in your briefings and your meetings, I apologize. But I can't stress enough the immediacy of our budget problems. But the fact is, the numbers, I should say, should speak for themselves. Since the Revenue Estimating Conference met in November, we've learned that for this fiscal year, the state faces an additional $750 million shortfall to close out our books on June the 30th. Now, that's only 2.5 months since the the Joint Legislative Committee on the Budget met and supposedly fixed that problem. Obviously, that didn't happen. There are even greater challenges in the year ahead, the year that starts on July the 1st, with a $1.9 billion shortfall based on a continuation budget basis. So that's where we are. It isn't pretty, but it's the truth. Now, how did we get here? Before Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, the total state budget was $17.7 billion. Following those disasters, the budget increased, peaking at $28.6 billion, and that was largely due to a 76% increase in federal funding for the recovery effort. With state revenues cushioned by federal dollars and private recovery dollars turning over in our economy, there were tax changes to repeal, partially, the Stelly tax plan on income taxes in 2007, and a full repeal was followed the next year. Except that that's really a misnomer. We never repealed Stelly. The revenue-enhancing portions of Stelly were repealed. All of the other parts, the trade-off in order to get to the increased revenues through the income tax changes, were actually left on the books. So Stelly remains in existence, at least in part. And we now know that those changes resulted in somewhere between $700 million and $1 billion a year not flowing into the Treasury. So that's revenue that we lost. Meanwhile, Louisiana has experienced annual budget shortfalls and the need for mid-year cuts in every year of the past 7 except for one, I believe. Higher education and healthcare, as you know, have borne the lion's share of these cuts. The problems have also trickled down to a crumbling infrastructure that's unable to keep up with our economy. And as you know, we have a $12 billion backlog of transportation infrastructure projects. And if we ignore this backlog, we continue to put Louisiana at a disadvantage with neighboring states, and within Louisiana, we continue to put business and industry at a competitive disadvantage with business and industry of other states that have an easier time moving in commerce. So years of unresolved or structural budget deficits have collided with a weakening state economy and a sharp drop in state revenue. Escalating use of one-time money, excessive fund sweeps, too many tax exemptions and credits and rebates that cost too much and don't produce enough return on investment. In short, they're more generous than we can afford. And external factors such as the drop in oil prices, slow corporate income, sales tax collections, a drop in mineral tax collections, all contribute to the situation where we are. So where do we go from here? Simply put, as I stand before you today, all options are on the table. That certainly means making strategic budget reductions, increasing efficiencies, and accepting our federal tax dollars back when they help us meet our obligations to our people and save us money in the process. It also means openly evaluating the system of tax incentives, credits, and rebates that are more generous than we can afford. You should know that in November, the Revenue Estimating Conference recognized that Louisiana's corporate income taxes are down 300% from their projected collection levels for this fiscal year. Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden noted recently that Louisiana is currently at a negative $200 million in corporate income tax collections this fiscal year. A negative $200 million in corporate income tax collections this year. This means that more corporations are collecting more in tax credits than they're actually paying into the system thus far. To start addressing infrastructure, we have to stop spending $60 million a year out of the Transportation Trust Fund to support state police, and we are going to do that. And we took a big step in this direction last year when we increased the automobile title transfer fee from $18.50 to $68.50 to try to generate the revenue related to automobiles to move the state police out. That's $60 million more we can spend on transportation projects every year. The other part of that is we should never wait 30 years to reevaluate the fees we're charging on things, because that's how you get that sticker shock. The last time that fee had been increased was 30 years before. And now we have a fee that is closely approximates what other states are charging for that same service. Simply put, we are not facing a belt-tightening exercise. At the core of all of our state's challenges are the structural budget problems. We have to negotiate shared sacrifice in order to bring about shared prosperity. It's the right thing to do, and it's the only thing to do if we want to avoid finding ourselves in this same situation again next year, and the year after, and the year after that, which is what we've been doing for the last 7 years. Now, unfortunately, part of the human condition is humans make mistakes. I will make my share just as I have thus far in my life. But I will do my best not to make the same mistakes that we've been making over the last 7 years. I know that there is a better way forward. I know that coming together we can meet the challenges. We can make sure that we can build a Louisiana that is worthy of our people. And that's why we have to partner together to make that happen. Because I am committed to having a strong business climate and growth and prosperity. I understand that businesses have to be profitable in order to hire people, in order to pay them better, in order to extend to them better benefits. By the way, I'm a small businessman myself, or at least I was until 3 days ago. I know what it's like to make a payroll. I know what it's like to go to the bank and borrow on a line of credit just to keep the doors open, hoping that there's going to be a better tomorrow. I'm aware of those things. So you're not going to find somebody who is unsympathetic, who is ignorant to what you're trying to do. You're going to find a willing partner, willing to sit down and talk to you and figure out a way forward for the state. As business leaders, your partnership is not only important to solving the challenges we face, quite honestly, it's what is expected. Not just by me, but by the people of Louisiana, that we're going to sit down and work together. And I will tell you in advance, you're not going to like everything that I propose. The fact of the matter is, I don't like some of the things I'm going to propose. The only thing I like worse is not doing them. I meant it the other day when I said I would much rather take the oath of office having a $1 billion surplus than a $1.9 billion shortfall. But we can't live in the world we prefer to live in. We got to live in the world where we find ourselves. So when you hear me propose something that you don't like, this is my challenge to you today. Don't automatically retreat to your corner and start lobbing grenades. You will never find an administration more willing to sit down and work with you and talk to you than we are going to be. We don't just want you to know what the problems are. I think most people in Louisiana understand the problem. I think they understand the size of it. They understand the importance of it. We want to work with you to actually fashion the solutions too. But the solutions have to be more than smoke and mirrors. They have to be more than just getting us past the initial hurdle. They have to put us on a sustainable trajectory so that we can meet the needs of the people of Louisiana over time. It is simply not acceptable to stand and talk to the business and industry group in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, where our flagship university is, that last year prepared paperwork to declare financial exigency, which is the higher education equivalency of bankruptcy. This is our flagship. If we had just enacted the budget that Governor Jindal gave us, which was going to visit a $200 million cut, not on LSU, but on all of higher education, that is not acceptable. That is not in your best interest. It's not in anybody's best interest. But to avoid that and to avoid a lot of other problems related to health care, housing inmates, building roads, all of the things that the state does that people find to be important and a priority, we have to work together to find solutions. So let's resist the urge to be first and foremost Republicans or Democrats. Let's resist the urge to stick to what we're most comfortable with in terms of our philosophy. And let's make sure that we work together and that we communicate in good faith to find the common ground to meet these challenges. And if we do that, the people of Louisiana are going to be better off. And that includes everyone in this room. Now, I spent a couple of years traveling the state. And I said this at my inauguration, but I believe in the power of prayer, and so I'll say it again today. I spent a couple of years traveling the state asking for the people for votes and prayers. I got enough votes, but you can never have enough prayers. And I'm asking you not just to pray for me, but pray for this great state. Pray for our leadership, whether it's in the legislature, the executive branch, or the judiciary. Pray for businesses that we can all be profitable, that we can have a state that's worthy of our people. Because the primary reason that I ran for governor was because in my 8 years in the legislature, I thought we were heading in the wrong direction. And I talked to too many children who were deciding that they needed to leave Louisiana. Now look, if we've got our best and brightest students out there who decide they want to leave our state to pursue an education, to get a good job, or to have a rewarding career, we should just send them on their way, bless them, wish them well. But if our best and brightest kids are leaving Louisiana because they believe they have to in order to get a good education, find a good job, or have a rewarding career, then we are failing them. Today in Louisiana, we are failing too many of those kids. And if we don't change something, we're going to fail way too many more. So I'm here asking you today to join with me so that together we can chart a better course for Louisiana, a brighter course, one that will involve you, not just in the implications of what we do, but in the decisions we make about what we're going to do. I pledge that to you as your governor. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here with you today, and I look forward to working with you all for the remainder of the term. God bless you. The message is that we have a tremendous future ahead of us. I'm extremely excited. I'm optimistic. I'm bullish on our future. But first, we have to deal with some very real challenges, and that's what we were talking about today, and they stem primarily from our structural budget deficit. And we're not going to keep doing the same thing that's produced this disastrous result for the state of Louisiana. We're going to move forward. We're going to find common ground, and we're going to fix the structural budget deficit with all of the measures that I talked about today being on the table.